Well, welcome. Good evening, everybody. It is 9 o'clock sharp. Try and start on time. My name is Sam Santalone. Excited to have you tonight. Tonight is the last video of 2022. And what does that mean? It means that I'm going to have a lot of questions that I've been asking you guys, like, hey, like, what do you think's going to happen in the market? Questions that I've been asking myself. A lot of these questions are going to get answered soon as to what's going to happen in 2023. So this is the culmination of this last year. It's been a pretty active year. And as we get into the new year, there will be some changes that are going to be taking place. What are those changes going to look like? We all don't know yet. It's going to be an ever developing landscape in the real estate market. But I wanted to talk to you tonight about Chesapeake and about spots in the Hampton Roads area that are not talked about very much. I know that when you plan to move here, a lot of times people go online, they do Google searches, and they say, like, what are the best spots to live in Virginia Beach or Chesapeake or Newport News, Williamsburg, and they go through and they find different lists, and they find spots often based on what they find online, Googling, just doing research, right? But a lot of the same spots come up, and that's because often that, like, places like Google push certain things to the top, and it's easier to do research on specific spots. But that you kind of start neglecting, I'd say, a lot of times a third, if not a half, of the entire area, because those spots either don't have the same name recognition that a lot of other places do, or they just don't get a lot of publicity. So what I wanted to put focus on some of those places that I think for the money, bang for buck, you can get a house, or you can live in a certain spot of, in this case, Chesapeake, that you might not have to pay as much for, and get the same experience that you might get if you're looking in another part of the same city that is more popular, or often more searched, if that makes sense. So we're going to go through the map. I'm going to show you on the map I'll do a split screen here, so you can see, like, on the map where these spots, all these general spots are. And if you have questions, of course, drop them in the comments, because I want to answer your questions as always. And so I hope you brought your questions. And where's my little thing? First of all, as always, where are you guys watching from? Are you watching from the East Coast? Is this West Coast? Is this overseas? Are you in Europe or Asia? Love to hear feedback as to where you guys are watching from. And if you have anything that you have questions about specifically, I can give more context to what you're going through, and what your questions you have. Please let me know about all of that. So as we go, feel free to make any suggestions or any comments about what you see, any questions, so I can tailor what I'm talking about to you specifically. Tokyo, hey, Keiji, I'm probably not saying that correctly. Welcome. Thanks for watching from Tokyo, Japan. Now that would be, is that 13-hour time difference? Is that right? Is it about 8 in the morning? Is that right? Anyway, excited to have you. And if anybody else is watching, wants to say where they're from, I'd love to hear about that too. But as we go, I'm going to start talking now about Chesapeake. And I know people kind of associate Virginia Beach often with that's the main city with the highest population. There's Teresa, Chesapeake. Let's go. Here we go. Yep. So there's Tokyo, Teresa, Chesapeake. Hey, Hampton. Wonderful. Memphis, Tennessee. Hey, how you doing, Memphis? Been there once before. Loved them. Oh my goodness, that's so awesome. How long have you been in Japan? That's awesome. So we got different time zones here, different continents. Love it. 11 o'clock. All right, so I was close. What is that? 10 hours. Why did it feel like it was farther or different? Anyway, great to hear from you guys. If you have questions, again, drop those comments below. And if you're watching after this live stream is recorded, you can also put questions in the comments below as well, and below the description. So a lot of times when people look online, they're researching parts of this area. They think Virginia Beach, because it is the highest population city in Hampton Roads. And so Hampton Roads being anywhere from the border, and I'll show you on the map what I'm talking about here. Let's go back to show this. There's the border of North Carolina and Virginia, which is Virginia Beach and Chesapeake. And it goes all the way up past Williamsburg, anywhere around, like, even parts of Gloucester, going up towards Lightfoot, Tawano. That's kind of the northern tip of Hampton Roads. But anywhere through this whole section, which is called the south side of Hampton Roads here, in the peninsula of Hampton Roads. And Hampton Roads is the general whole area, the whole region of the southeastern Virginia area, right? So they think Virginia Beach is the largest land size, separate from a couple like in Suffolk, but the highest population for sure. Almost 500,000 people are in Virginia Beach. However, that being said, there is about, I guess, about 1.3-ish million people. Correct me if anybody knows exactly, but in that whole region of Hampton Roads, between all of what they consider call the seven cities, and there are some other counties around there as well, but the whole area is about 1.3-ish million people. And so combining them all together, you've got a lot of people in a pretty large land size. So what happens is people get fixated on Virginia Beach and they think, well, this is where a lot of the people are. This is where I should go. They realize then quickly that I can live in Norfolk. I can live in Chesapeake. I can live in Suffolk. I can live in Portsmouth. I can live in Newport News and Hampton and be in one of these other cities, but not necessarily live exactly in Virginia Beach, but you can still be relatively close. And based on where you want to move, where you want to live, school districts, work related stuff, military bases, that might change what makes the most sense, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do today is say, okay, if we're looking at Virginia Beach or anywhere around Virginia Beach, what are some good pivot points, and specifically in Chesapeake, where I'm going to show you where Chesapeake is, the entire city of Virginia Beach, and say, okay, where in this area, this whole region of Chesapeake, has the most the hidden spots? Where are the places that don't get the best, like the most conversations talked about? Like where are the places where you can just drive by and not realize that there are some of the best parts of town? You just don't realize that they're there. Or places that maybe you might not like them, but they are also options that if you want something that is, best bang for buck, or also best. I looked down, I saw no Hartford Whalers, John. Go Hartford Whalers. Yeah, no Whalers. I was not a Whalers fan, but I appreciated the Whalers, John from Hartford. But what was I talking about? Oh, there are parts of the area that are hidden that don't get as much publicity, but are also just affordable. You can get a house for the price. It's hard to find houses in under 300, under 350, being in some of these parts of Chesapeake. So we'll talk about those as well. So number one is there are 4 spots I'm going to talk about, general areas, and we can get more granular as we go. But there are 4 general spots. One is going to be Great Bridge. Now, Great Bridge, you may have heard that before. People say, well, why are you talking about Great Bridge? It's one of the most in-demand school districts in the area. We kind of know about that one, Sam. Well, I guess the reason I'm saying Great Bridge and mentioning Great Bridge is because Great Bridge used to be a much larger area, larger land size, because it encompassed, so there are, if you look down here, there's the Great Bridge Lock Park. Going east of there, this whole section, if you can see my mouse, this whole area here, south into Great Bridge East, Great Bridge, this whole area down into here, all into the south part, towards the border, was mostly Great Bridge High School District. But over time, as more new construction was built, as you go further east, going towards Virginia Beach, and also going west into the area near Route 17 and Dominion Boulevard, excuse me. The further west and east there was new construction, there was just a higher concentration of houses, which meant the school districts were expanding. So Hickory School District and Grassfield School District were built in the 2000s or 90s, really. And that split up, fragmented the Great Bridge High School District area. And so you have less of a concentration of houses in Great Bridge. And so what happens is it's not ranked as high often online in like niche.com, greatschools.org. So because of that, it's like people like focus more on Hartford. They focus more on Grassfield or focus more on Hickory. But I think Great Bridge is one that I think should be reconsidered a lot more. Because of the types of houses that are there. A lot of houses built in the 90s, 2000s, and there's some great neighborhoods in the Great Bridge district. For example, I'll show you the general areas, but Berkshire Estates, like Pines of Warwick is one that, 400,000 price ranges. You can get some nice houses. Porter Ridge is one that more in the higher price. You're talking into the 6s or so, but there are different parts of Great Bridge as well. So for example, when I'm looking at the Great Bridge area, you see here, there's the Great Bridge Lock Park. This is the Great Bridge Bridge right here. But if you go further out and then going further north, you'll see Great Bridge or Greenbrier West. Going east of there, you see Great Bridge Boulevard right here. This area is close to a spot that's near the Oscar Smith High School District, different high school district. However, there are some spots that are in this area that are Great Bridge zoned schools. So, like, for example, Crestwood is one that is in this area that is in Great Bridge. And also Mains Creek Park is another one, is in the same area. The reason I say that is because for the price, if you want Great Bridge High School District, you might be able to find a house in this area for a more affordable price. That being said, there are some drawbacks, and one of them is you'll find some spots that might require flood insurance, and that is something that you might find on a house by house basis. But there is a higher concentration of flood insurance areas in this area nearly on the east side of the Elizabeth River, or near the Elizabeth River, really. But for the affordability of it, under 350 a lot of times, under 325. Up to close to 4, you'll find in the Great Bridge School District some houses that could work. Now, again, you got different middle schools and elementary schools. But again, if you want that Great Bridge School District, that would be an area I would consider if you want something in the more affordable ranges. That being said, again, if you're comparing all these neighborhoods together, you might find some differences as to why some are priced higher than others. And that's you'll notice a lot of differences because of a lot of reasons that can cause the price fluctuations. Now, if you go further south, though, get into the actual Great Bridge area near Johnstown Road and close to near Cedar Road. And again, not too far east or west, because that's where you get into both Hickory and Grassfield. But it's just right in that middle. That's kind of the heart of the Great Bridge area. And it's you go through, if you drive through, and I'm going to drop a pin here. When you drop a pin on Johnstown Road, for example, this area, this is like the epitome of what Great Bridge in this part of Chesapeake feels like. You've got a road that has been expanded over time because you've got houses right along the main road, for example, strip malls on one side, a lot of we call it Great Bridge specials, a lot of main like brick ranch style. And these are built in like the 60s mostly, but very, very like it feels secluded, but it also, you see a lot of houses where trees cut down, but a lot of trees in these areas as well, because they're very, very established neighborhoods. This is a very, very typical style of what you get in a lot of parts of Great Bridge. And so this type, you'll have a lot of like detached garages, like you see in the back of that house. And so zooming out, going back towards Mount Pleasant Road right here, this is kind of the spot. If you drop a pin on Mount Pleasant and Johnstown around the corner, this to me is like the heart of Great Bridge. You've got old strip malls on one side, this Taylor's Do It Center, like very local, there's a Mr. Jim's. Where's Mr. Jim's? There it is, right there. That sub shop right there. Good coffee shop over there on the corner in that converted office building. So this is a very weird intersection that kind of goes up and curves around on Mount Pleasant. This is very, very, very Great Bridge. And so to me, I have a little bit more of a nostalgic feel to this, because this is on Battlefield Boulevard. This is just the heart of what it feels like to be in country and in suburbs in the Chesapeake area. But I would consider, Great Bridge School District for this reason too. You're also extremely close to a lot of stuff. You've got, access to shopping at Kroger right there. There's your Moe's, tropical smoothie back behind the Wendy's. There's a Chili's behind there also. There's Wendy's. So you got all your stuff. There's Chili's. But this is like, there's even a parade that comes up and down the Great Bridge area during the Christmas time and in off Battlefield in Cedar Road. So this is like the heart of what Chesapeake feels like. So I would consider Chesapeake for that reason, or I'm sorry, Great Bridge for that reason, because again, it gets lost in the mix. And when you go to the Hickory School District or the Grassfield School District, you get more houses, maybe more like functional, newer houses. But I'd say part of it is you kind of lose the flavor of what Chesapeake feel like, the Great Bridge Chesapeake area feels like. And I think that's what the central part of Chesapeake or of Great Bridge kind of brings back to life. I love that part of town. So that's number one. Now shifting over, I mentioned this area a lot of times before that I think is worth revisiting, and it is Western Branch. So Western Branch and specific neighborhoods in Western Branch, and here's Western Branch over here. It's pretty evident. Western Branch North, Western Branch South. It goes around 664. This is Interstate 664 and 264, and also 64. All of these interstates, they go through or around Western Branch. Now, this is great because you've got a pretty highly ranked school district, Western Branch High School, but also you've got access to the other parts of town. So if you want to be in the school district, you can go further north. If let's say you're at Langley Air Force Base, you want to be in a specific school district, but you don't want Tab, don't want Grafton, you can go south, cross the tunnel, which is not always convenient, but you can get across to Western Branch in not too long a period of time because of how easy it is to get onto the 664 interchange off of Western Branch North and Western Branch South. Some specific neighborhoods, if you're looking for neighborhoods to check up in Western Branch, I would say check out places like Brittany Woods. Chadwick Terrace is one that I think is worth considering, depending on the size. If these are some of these brick ranch style houses, Brittany Woods has some larger ones, 2,700 square feet. Dock Landing has some larger ones too. Green Meadow Point. There is also a place called there's Jolliffe Landing and Jolliffe Woods that are in the more of the $500,000-$600,000 price range that I think is worth considering. Point Elizabeth is another one. Silverwood, Wellington. These are neighborhoods I just want to drop in your brain so you can start searching these spots to see like, okay, what kind of houses are in these areas? What works for me? And I did a video about Wellington, this little neighborhood right here, right off of 664. And the reason I like this is because it is so close to 664. Now the drawback is also that it's close to 664, but it's in the same school district. It's right off that interstate. It's worth considering if you want like that 400s price range, 450 price range in Chesapeake. Then others like Point Elizabeth, and you got all the areas lining around Dock Landing. I think Chadwick Terrace is a very underrated and not talked about neighborhood very much, but I think is great for where it is, which is over here just south of Portsmouth Boulevard near Dock Landing. So this whole area here, Kaufman Boulevard, Pinta Drive, San Salvador, this whole area here is just, houses in the 360, 370, 380 range, 350 sometimes. I'll just drop a pin. Let's just put them on Santa Maria, and you'll see this size of lots has a very similar feel to what you get in Grape Ridge. And the reason why this happens is because, again, houses are built in the similar time period, and which leads to a lot of similar size houses. But also you see more unique lot sizes as well. So that's very appealing because more of the newer houses, you don't real often get as large a lots if you're going to get for a cheaper price. So 350, 375, 400. Like this house is I'm guessing it's probably in the low fours for the lot size, but even still, for what you're getting, it's very hard to find a large lot or a comfortable lot and be in this price range in a school district like Western Branch. So this is why I like these types of neighborhoods because of what you can get. Another hack I keep saying a lot in other videos is the way to also save on size or price is also to get a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, or 4-bedroom, 1.5 bath, or a house that has one less half bath or one less bathroom, because people are so fixated often on the extra 2 or 2.5 baths for reasonable reasons. But sometimes if you like the neighborhood, it's worth it to get the house that you want and not have to pay as much for it because there's one less bathroom. So that's one hack to get into a neighborhood you might like. But again, some of these houses, and some of these spots in Western Branch, $500,000-$600,000. Newer houses, like there's a new construction area that's in the same area as well. It's Jolliffe, I believe it's Jolliffe Landing. New construction in the 5s and 6s. I think so for the area, it's one of the best new construction spots anywhere I'd say in Chesapeake period, is this area in Jolliffe Landing, which is right off of Portsmouth Boulevard as well, off of near 664. So there it is, right there's Jolliffe Landing Apartments. Back here, let's go back here. Oh, that's right. It's too new to have. It's too new to have a street view, but it's there. And just check out Jolliffe Landing. Hey, Isaiah, as we talked before, hi, view from Houston, Texas, live in Ocean View East Beach, just got a house in Carrollton. Congratulations. I'm curious to hear what you'll think about Carrollton, if you like Carrollton and why. Or, if you're trying to compare that to other parts of town, because Carrollton is a very convenient spot to the Newport News, Hampton area, like for Langley Air Force Base, for example, and also into the Chesapeake area further south. Just curious to hear your take on that. And now, number 3, this is where it gets interesting as far as like these neighborhoods and areas aren't nearly talked about to me as much as they maybe should be if you want something. Again, it depends on the price range. This one spot is called Deep Creek. Now, Deep Creek, there's a lot of controversy. There's parts of Deep Creek that show you Deep Creek North and Deep Creek South. It crosses over 64 here. Some of the spots are, you're going to find some of the houses built in the same time period, in the 60s, in the 70s, and even into the 80s, and throwing out some neighborhoods to just kind of keep in mind. There's like Elmwood Landing. Culpeper Landing is one that I'll show you on the map where that is. It's a newer development that if you want newer houses, I would check that spot out a lot, as well as Meadow Lake Farms. There is Oak Manor is another one that is, again, 350, 400,000 price range. Strawberry Acres, Woods of Deep Creek. You'll find some of these newer houses that are going to be bumped up into the fours and fives. But again, Deep Creek School District, do your research on this, the rankings and all that stuff too. That's one of the reasons why it's not as talked about, because it doesn't hit as much of those boxes as many of the boxes that people might look if they're wanting like the specific school districts that they really, really want. And so that's sometimes why they fall through the cracks. But the accessibility, you've got 64 that like around the north and south part of Deep Creek. And so because you see Elizabeth River in Deep Creek, one of the drawbacks here is you will find some spots that require flood insurance, and I would just be aware of that. It's not an automatic, like if you're, so for example, if you see a house that's 400, does not mean it's going to be the 400 payment. It could be more than that because it might require some flood insurance based on where you are. So just coming off of George Washington Highway here, going further east and south, you'll go into like a big cul-de-sac just north of the Great Dismal Swamp, which is Culpeper Landing right here. Culpeper Landing is one of the newer developments in this part of Chesapeake, and I'll drop a pin. 4s, 5s, and 6s. Great subdivisions, real nice. A variety of builders have built in here. And so you get some different floor plans depending on the builders, obviously, but they have the similar aesthetics, a little bit more contemporary style, which it's hard to find this style in other parts of the area. You'll find some that are, for example, in Hickory and Grassfield, that have similar like elevations, house shapes, and floor plans, but they're just not as super common. So this is why Culpeper Landing can become pretty popular for that reason. And also the floor plans are pretty functional. But again, that being said, there are some drawbacks. You're coming out of Culpeper Landing right into Old Mill and Moses Grandy here. This intersection right here is extremely irritating. Show you right here. This like stop sign, the stoplight here, this four-way, look at this bridge right here. Super irritating. I never want to drive down this bridge, but I have to. It goes across, I think this is the intercoastal waterway, and that goes down towards the Great Dismal Swamp, and you can run. There are trails down along the side of the Great Dismal Swamp, or over here, right down along there. It is right there. So you have to cross the waterway. That backs up a lot, and it backs up along the George Washington Highway. So if you're trying to get to the house in Culpeper, you got to deal with some traffic a lot of times just to meander, especially during rush hour. So that can be annoying. Additional neighborhoods. I mentioned Woods of Deep Creek. Did I mention Strawberry Acres? Did I mention Strawberry Acres? A lot of these houses are going to be 300,000 to 400,000 or 500,000 to 500,000. 1,600 square feet for these ranch style houses, like Elmwood Landing, for example, which is right next to on the way around or through to Culpeper Landing. 350, 375, 400. But then if you go into, for like, you can get them cheaper sometimes, but if you go into, again, Culpeper and some other newer construction houses, they're going to be higher than that. But that's just kind of run of the mill, old mill. It's kind of par for the course for newer houses. It's going to be upper fours at the very start, but mostly 5s and up. But you can get cheaper houses in Deep Creek compared to Grassfield or Hickory or Great Bridge for that matter. But again, convenience aspect is kind of, to me, an issue. The flood insurance thing in certain spots can be a little bit of a thing. Just Google Culpeper Landing and flooding. You'll see some stuff that comes up, just old things that have happened, but they've tried to remediate or fix those issues. It seems like they've done a pretty good job from what I can tell. But you got even the toll access on George Washington Highway. This is a toll. Veterans Bridge, that's a new bridge. That means tolls. Tolls are annoying here, and it's kind of a necessary evil in some of these spots. But you also are close to 64, which is close to the bridge. This is the high-rise bridge, which is being expanded as we speak. So there's a lot of traffic that comes through 64 right near this bridge to go over towards the rest of Chesapeake. But really, this section over here, it's getting expanded, and so you're going to have a much easier go of it with traffic in this part of town as we get closer in the next year or two. So that leads us to the fourth one. Side note, if you have any questions, again, drop those comments below. Oh, sorry, I'm not. Post your comments in the chat. Drop your comments below. I'm going to go to the fourth area that I think is worth mentioning, which is South Norfolk. Now, say, okay, why South Norfolk, Sam? It's not Norfolk. It's Norfolk, not Chesapeake. Wrong. It is Chesapeake. It is in the Chesapeake city limits, and it's called South Norfolk anyway. It's a historic part of town. Different parts of the area, and I've done videos about some of these parts before, but I think they're worth mentioning because if you do want a house in the low threes or under, I would check some of these spots out. It kind of can be hit and miss as to what you're going to find and what your comfort level is. So, for example, this is historic South Norfolk. A lot of historic houses, some great opportunities to redevelop older houses, some, like old sidewalk streets, but, you'll find some older rundown houses as well. You'll see there's no HOA necessarily, but if you do get renovations in here, because it's a historic district, there are some more guidelines, but it's just an older part of town. So that's kind of that's how the area around the South Norfolk proper is, like the actual neighborhood of South Norfolk. But as you go outside of there, you'll see some similarities as far as how the neighborhood vibes are. Like, for example, if you go over towards an area called Portlock Terrace, Sunrise Hills, Wilman Place is another one. There are a lot of newer construction houses that are built in pre-existing lots, but individual lots. I'm just going to drop a random spot. Let's just go over to, let's go back over to, let's go to Stewart Street. And so you'll find similar things. Lots of, you got mature trees. Then you'll have a lot of older houses. And all of a sudden, that one's probably a renovated house right there. There are some spots where you'll just find vacant lots, and the people that own the houses sold those lots to builders, and they built one individual neighborhood or house on that spot. It happens all the time. And over the last like 15, 20 years, that became the most common way for builders to build and keep the prices low. So they buy those individual lots. And so these are where these most frequent opportunities arise for builders to build. And so over the last 15, 20 years, you'd find fewer and fewer vacant lots because they've been sold over time to these builders. So I'm going to try one on Chesapeake Avenue. There's one right there. That was a renovation house. I'm sorry. There's one right here. This is a new one. That house right there, that's probably about 10 years old. Over here, that was probably a vacant lot at one point, or maybe a tear down. That happens quite a bit. So if you like that kind of style, you'll find a lot of craftsman style in South Norfolk and around there in Portlock Terrace and Wilman Place. But that area quickly turns into other parts of like Compostela, Liberty Street. All these areas are in South Norfolk and the areas near South Norfolk, near Berkeley. And, I would say like there's a big railroad track in the middle. It's kind of an industrial area. This is why a lot of the reasons why you'll find a lot of cheaper houses in some of these areas, or some of these reasons are for that. So please keep that in mind as well. But if you go further north, I did a video about some of my favorite neighborhoods in Chesapeake. One of the ones I mentioned was over near Tanglewood, Seminole Park, and Riverside Park. This whole section over here is just north of Indian River Road, and I'll drop a pin. There's some real nice, like secluded spots near the water that are like very similar to what you might find in Western Branch, but you also find like there's also water access. Some of the most affordable for what you get water access in anywhere in Chesapeake is here. This is the Elizabeth River. And so it's like you got houses that have nice property on the shoreline with docks and all that for, sometimes you might talk like 800, 700, sometimes 600 small houses, maybe even less than that. But that water access is very hard to find for the price. And so some of these neighborhoods are just great. And some of these spots, even as you come down off of Sparrow, for example, this road, Sparrow Road, going further south, some of these houses you can get for $350 or $300. There are houses in here that will sell for under $300. And it's very convenient. You're close to Virginia Beach. You're like down the street from Virginia Beach. You're in the Indian River High School District, I believe. And just go down Sparrow, and you're again right close to Indian River Road, which is a very convenient spot. So this general area, again, it's nothing fancy. This is not a place that's like super fancy, but it's a tucked away corner that I think is it's a nice find. And there's the line of Virginia Beach right there. So you can going further south from there. There are some spots in like Norfolk Highlands, which is another part of Chesapeake. It's not Norfolk, but it's called Norfolk Highlands. If you come, like, drop a pin in on Cornick, these are very close together. But if you can deal with the vibe of the crampedness of the neighborhood, you'll get, to me, the best house and location for the price you can find almost anywhere in the city of Chesapeake. 325, 295, 355, like these price ranges. Even newer houses are going to be probably 375, maybe not even under 400. Like 350 is probably very common still in these streets. So I think that'll probably stay that way for a while. And so, like, you notice a lot of these houses were built at the same time almost. Like, this was vacant land 10, 8, 6 years ago. Very good example of that. So a lot of Norfolk Highland spots, I'd say, are also good spots to check out if you want affordability in these price ranges. Now, again, if you want something like in the 5s and 6s, you can find all of those in any of these spots, including Western Branch, but especially in Great Bridge. But you can find them anywhere, like even in off of Wingfield Avenue. What's a good example? Where's one? I think it's Ford Park. Yeah, Ford Park. Coming off of, where's Liberty? Where are we at? There's Indian River Road. This is Ford Park right here. This whole area right here, just south or east of the industrial side over there. This is a very, I would call it, it's just like a hidden gem. I feel like drop a pin, you don't realize where you're at. I mean, it's quiet. It's cool. I know some people, great friends of mine, that live in this neighborhood. It's a great spot, and you wouldn't be coming back here unless you were living in this area, which is kind of makes it like this unique kind of a dead end spot. So you'll find little nooks like that on the water. You can get some good pricing. But that being said, otherwise, if you're looking at 500, 600 and up, you'll find it, but mostly in the Great Bridge School District going further south. And that's where I'd focus my attention. If you're not really as worried about the specific school district, like in Hickory or Grassfield, then Great Bridge would be a great pivot point, keeping that same price range, but maybe getting a little bit more for your money, maybe a little bit, just a touch, but you're kind of in the heart of what the South Chesapeake area can feel like, and like the heartbeat of the South Chesapeake area, the country part of the area. So those are the 4 spots. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. I wanted just to make it efficient today and give you a great kind of a precursor of more things I'll say about in other parts of Virginia Beach or Norfolk or other parts of town that I think are worth mentioning that aren't often discussed, that I think people need to really focus on if they want to get good value for their money. But that's in all different price ranges, so you can get good value at 800, you can get good value on 1.2, you can get good value at 275. There's always value in each price range. It's just depending on where you want and like what your needs are, and not having to pay for the things you don't really need or want, and so, because some spots in anywhere in Hampton Roads, you might be paying for things you don't need. For example, if you didn't want to be near the beach, you're going to be paying a lot to be near the beach. So don't focus on that area, because you're going to be paying a real pretty penny for something you don't need. So it's that kind of concept all across the area in different ways. Isaiah, haven't moved in yet. I want in Norfolk, Brambleton, Compostela. I work in Norfolk, Brambleton, Compostela area. What do you think about the commute? I think the price was fair and interest rate okay. The HOA is low as compared to other places. Are you in Eagle Harbor by chance? Whether it be the condo side or the single family side. Norfolk, Brambleton, Compostela. Yeah. So commute. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be, man, I'd say you're going to probably, it's what, 40 minutes with no traffic, probably 25 or 30, maybe 30. But yeah, I mean, it can be irritating because you just have a lot of road. And like for 164, for example, coming across the tunnel, coming across a bridge, you're going to find traffic. It will come. But you probably got some good value for what you're wanting, and especially if you're in Eagle Harbor, it's hard to find that kind of house for the price in most any other part. Yep, there it is. Chart House. Yeah, that's Eagle Harbor, I guess, right in the north part of it too, I believe, right? So, yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. I get the decision as far as the type of house and all that. I get it, because it is hard to find that and replicate that. And it's really about the drive. The drive is the factor that people get focused on, and like, well, do I want that extra 40 minutes or 45 minutes or 35 minutes as opposed to 20 minutes, but spend maybe $75,000 more for a house, So it's kind of figuring out what makes the most sense, So I get it. I think I think Carrollton in the area has some growing to do. I just think that a lot of people that go to Langley Air Force Base on the Hampton side, it's not that far away from Langley. So I think it's a worthwhile spot to consider. So yeah, totally get it. Yeah, but I think so. That covers. Yes, there you go. Yeah, I agree. So that is all the spots. Again, drop comments below. And again, guys, if you want to talk amongst, if you have questions, and we all can help each other here. I want this to be a community. So if you have any questions, or you think you can answer someone else's question based on your experience from whether it be a day, a month, a year, a lifetime of living in the Hampton Roads in Chesapeake or Virginia Beach, feel free to comment and answer people's questions in the comments below as well after this video posts. So I just love helping people out in this area. I help people all the time relocate to the area. So that's what I do. And I've talked about that a lot. If you need any help, want to talk through the best ways to do that and best spots and just how to strategize, especially as we get into the first part of the year and like the first 2 quarters of the season. This is the time where people start planning for that move. Let me know. I've got my I'll put my contact information in the description. Here's my phone number here, as well as my website here, or my email address. Excuse me. Email me, contact me. You can text me as well, and I will just answer as fast as I can. I know it's the holiday season. Not as many people might be doing this now, but I know it's coming up soon. And again, like it's things move quickly as we get into January. So the market and the just the vibe of the area, like the people start moving, things start changing as we get into January and February. So things happen fast. So let me know as soon as you can, so I can start kind of helping you plan as early as possible. Oh, Trey. Yeah. To answer your question. Yeah. Christmas holiday was great. It was relaxing, a lot of family, and just, it was a needed time. It's been a needed time that is after what has been a wild couple of years. So it's been a nice little bit of time to kind of relax and kind of reset, and it's been great. Hope it was great for you too, Trey. But anyway, if you have more questions, again, you can drop in the comments, or again, let me know, call, email, text, and I'll do whatever I can to help you relocate to the area. And I will see you on the next video.